Thanks. Well, this topic is network structure, and and I really want to begin with saying that the structure trips up a lot of networks because we have we have an orientation toward um, organizations. We come from organizations. We're used to them. We're less used to partnering initiatives, and so we try to replicate that. But uh, too much organization for the scale of the network can be deadly, can really trip it up. So this particular slide here is one that I got from Mark Avery. I wanted to give him credit for it. He talks here about um, in terms of complexity, and I think that's a very good place to start. So in network structure, form always comes after or follows function. We determine first what is the function that we're trying to work on together, and that is what guides our decision making on what kind of structure we use for our network or partnership. This you'll see here from left to right. Um, Very low structure is needed for a relationship information kind of sharing event, and that you can there are still are things, organization and planning that you need to do that. But as you get a little more um, into wanting doing some projects together, it's going to require some more structure. And then once you realize that this is actually what we're wanting to do is more complex than we can really manage, you cross a golden point, and Mark Avery calls this the point of unmanageable complexity. We realize this thing is too complex. We're going to have to get more complex so that we can deal with it. And at that point, it becomes important to be sharing our core competencies. What do we bring to the table? To know that, to describe it to each other, and then as we move even further uh, with successfully managing complexity, we get into what he calls joint value creation. And it's a place where we see that because we're together, we're able to create new value that we didn't have or couldn't have before. Um, so let's look at. Um, I have just here a brief number of kind of forms or structures that we see in networks. And this is one that I'll call for now basic. Um, it has all attendees is of course everyone that would come to a network or maybe even be involved in it even if they're not able to be there at the gatherings. And then you have the regulars. Those are those that you begin to know. These are the folks who have more of an affiliation with this this network. In this basic form, you've got a steering committee. It's got a helpful, it's got a chairman that leads it and is very essential. And that chairman is liaison to being with a conference planning team or some sort of gathering. And this would describe, and the members of that in that blue circle are others who are on some sort of steering committee. So this is one form. Another starts allocating out roles. So this gets a little more complex, and you start seeing roles. They're still filled by individuals. In this format, we've got a network calling its leadership team a council, and it has broken out 4 roles. Each are headed by a person: a communications, the annual consultation, an internal facilitator like of the council, and an external facilitator, relationships with the outside world. This is the kind of structure that this network helps it begin to diversify and deal with what it feels is central to its mission. In this next one, we're calling this a segmented. You notice these circles cross over from the facilitation team or the center, the steering committee sort of group, to include members from the regulars. So they're more like work teams. This particular one has what looks to me like three work teams: fruitful practices, mobilization, and a global trends um, area emphasis. And then within the facilitation team, it has an executive committee, which includes the facilitator, chairman, and secretary. And that's drawn from those inside the facilitation team. So it's begin to segment out central core purposes of the network to fulfill its vision, and uses it that way. And here's one that we call highly segmented. So it's even gone further into developing work teams of its regulars, led by people who are on, in this case, called the leadership facilitation team. So there is a core leadership facilitation team within the leadership facilitation team, and members of that team are liaison, if not chairing, these five work areas or groups. So there's a prayer, relief and development, a security, a business's mission, and non-Western workers in this model here. And what you begin to see is how this structure is rolling out. Now, there are other aspects to structure beyond just work teams and leadership styles. We've talked about there are different, we've already mentioned here, different differences between some call it a council, which may be more representative in nature. The people on the council are representing a constituency or a country or a region or a type of ministry. And there are many other factors of network structure. But we do want to say, primarily, determine the function that your network is really all about. What are you aiming to accomplish? And then scale the complexity of your structure so that it is as minimal as possible to fulfill the mission that you see you have. And I did mention this deadly factor. Over structuring can be deadly, and we've seen this happen. Sometimes people, very well-meaning people, come in and even try to set up a network, and they want to set it up full-flowered, like, that's got a whole set of officers and terms and a constitution and a statement of faith, and it's like they import in a template that is full-flowered, and what that can do is introduce things that trip it up, because hey, we're just beginning to work together. We're just beginning to do our mission. Allow something to evolve and just be as complex and as structured as it is minimally needed to do what you've set out. You can always grow, and we would encourage you, of course, to grow your capacity so that you can continue to do even bigger things as the Lord blesses you and gives you a vision to do. But don't overshoot. And it may be that you find you have overshot, in which case graciously allow it to right size for where you are. And or maybe the other way, you're undershooting too much, and we need to allow it to become more complex, in which case you should identify core capacities that people bring to the table and begin to let these step into their functioning. And I think I'll finish with that and we can talk about some of these issues in our breakout, what your network structure is, what have been issues that have risen from that, and other questions.